Hey everybody, I'm Darwin's Eyeball. I was just about to head on in and watch some PSVR without Parole, viewer takeover. Why don't you come in, we'll watch it together. Just let me grab my coffee quick. I had it somewhere around here. Where was it? Kitchen. Probably in the kitchen. Nope, not in the kitchen. You know what? Forget the coffee. Let's just go watch.
Abnormality detected. Abnormality detected. Abnormality detected. Abnormality detected. Abnormality detected.
This is Viewer Takeover. We film every Monday night and we bring it to YouTube every Tuesday morning.
Theoretically-ish. Tuesday-ish.
We're pretty lax around here on the rules. We don't keep our employees to very high standards, so we just kind of let them do what they want when they want. Also, I'm the employee. My name is Brian Paul from this channel right here, Without Parole, and the gentleman to my right, the boys, Dave from Dave Station VR.
That's me.
And that guy on the far right-hand side of the screen is AJ from the Underground, PSVR Underground.
And that's me.
That's me. That's a me.
Oh, I almost didn't make it down my mouth.
That was like take 5 and it still sucked.
It's terrible. That's how we do things here on Without Parole. Guys, we have so many people we want to thank. The first person we want to thank here is Darwin's Eyeball for that amazing viewer takeover introduction. Like, what, his whole house recreated in dreams? Is that what it was?
Pretty impressive stuff. Yeah, it's really cool. And I like the way that he managed to pretty much sync up his walking tour on video with the way he moved through the world. Pretty cool to see, like, side by side. Even all the crap that was strewn on the floor in the living room, he recreated all the crap that was on the floor. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not very happy that he forfeited the coffee. I was rooting for the coffee. He's like, "Where's my coffee?" I'm like, "Get the coffee." And he's like, "Forget the coffee." I was like, "You can't forget the coffee, Darwin. What the fuck is going on over there?" AJ, as our resident dreams creator, pretty impressive.
Very impressive. Yeah. That's not easy to do, and that wasn't something you can do very fast. So, really well done.
If you want to introduce next week's show, make sure you send your short, sweet, seductive introduction to withoutparole@gmail.com. Also, we might have a couple more in the queue, so if you don't get it next week, you'll get it soon. Eventually, it'll happen. Thank you for that. But we also want to thank these people down here. These are the people who went to patreon.com/withoutparole.
Yay!
And they're giving us $1 or more every single month. If you don't know how this channel runs, that's how it runs. A YouTube ad revenue is like shit. So Patreon is what really keeps this channel running. And we thank each and every one of you for your continued support. We really appreciate you. But AJ, who else do we want to thank before we get the show off the ground?
We would like to thank those who support us in another way by changing their name to something GameCat, something GameCat related, something GameCat adjacent, as you and something GameCat adjacent would like to say. And this week, we have 3 new GameCats to welcome to the GameCat Dojo. Starting with TZ's the JBot #GameCat.
God damn it, hotcakes.
He's getting close because we wanted people with 2 letters. So he's TZ. I don't know what the S is for. I wish he was just TZ the JBot, because then that's closer to our HJ, BJ, OJ kind of thing that we've been asking for. All those together at once, please. But yeah, I don't know. Good name change, but
the trail has gone cold, guys. I like hotcakes is getting away from us now.
Who else we got?
We've also got Brian, the GameCat.
We already got one of those. Next.
I approve of this GameCat. I do not approve of the spelling of his name.
Yeah, that's true.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's spelled different, so it's not the same.
Yeah, but you know, at least people can tell us apart now.
I just don't want anybody getting confused.
We have Glacier Beatbox X, the game cat.
Nice. I like the double X on the beatbox.
Try to make it sound cool.
Yeah.
I can't beatbox. Can any of you guys beatbox?
Not well. No.
No, I don't think most people can beatbox well.
It sounds like a Honda Civic with like all the settings all the way up.
It's like a fart box.
Right. But what we really do here on Viewer Takeover, Dave, is what?
Well, we get some questions from the internet that you guys watching theoretically send in to us because you are the viewers in the title of the show. And this week we have 3 of them that came to us from Discord and YouTube videos around the world. And let's start off with the first one. Brian, you want to take this one from Billy Paw the Game Cat?
Billy the Pod, the Game Cat on PSVR this week writes, you guys have danced around what you think is happening with PSVR next gen, but maybe it's time to put your thoughts down in writing and place some pizza bets. Nothing better than a good pizza bet. Will there be PlayStation 5, PlayStation VR 1 games at the launch? I'm going to say this, he's talking about the launch of the PlayStation 5. Will there be PSVR 1 games at launch? Also, when do you think PSVR 2 is coming? And finally, what's the likelihood we get new controllers before a new headset? Hashtag viewer takeover. All great questions. All questions, again, yeah, we have discussed at some point or another. But as we get so close to the PlayStation 5 launch, maybe it's time to like put our thoughts down and just like really solidify what we think is going to happen before it happens.
Well, so here's the question that I have. Is this 3 separate pizza bets? Are we making a bet for each question on the pizza, or is it just like how do we incorporate all?
Well, this is the important thing, though, is that we already have some pizza bets in the works, and we have to make sure.
So all previous pizza bets are erased.
No,
I know.
We have a price.
No.
We have the price pizza bet on the PS5.
I know the only one of them, and it's that one, the price one.
All right. Yeah. So this will probably nullify all other pizza bets. But yeah, the PS5 price pizza bet is still in effect, which I don't even remember. I don't even remember what that was.
Yeah. We need to write this down, like you said.
Actually, I know what another pizza bet is, but we'll get into it later.
All right. So let's take the first question first. Always a good place to start. And he writes, will there be PlayStation 5 PSVR 1 games at the launch of PS5? Now this is tricky, right? Because just to clarify for people, everyone's going to go, well, of course there's going to be, because you can play PlayStation 4 games on PlayStation 5 with your current head. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about PlayStation 5 exclusive games that take full advantage of the PlayStation 5, not upgraded versions of PlayStation 4 games with the current PSVR 1 headset. And for a long time, I said, of course there will be. I think there'll be a secondary launch of games, PSVR 1 games, when we get to PlayStation 5. I assumed that there was going to be like 10 PSVR games at launch. And I think the closer we get, the less I believe that to be true. I actually don't think there are going to be any.
None at all. Okay. I would not be surprised to see like a very low number, just to have something to prove like, hey guys, we're supporting this somehow, even if it's cross-platform. Like the ideal version is PS5. That's what they want you to buy it on, but you could play it on PS4 if you wanted to. I don't know how much of that we'll see, because it's a kind of a matter of like, do you want to satisfy the market that's already there, that already has the hardware, or do you want to release something that is as powerful as it can possibly be and have no, what's the word? You don't have to make any compromises. You just put it on the PS5. It runs great. I think we'll probably see at least one of those, and if not, maybe a demo disc of upcoming stuff. I would not be surprised if we saw a PSVR demo disc for PS5 with, hey, this is what we're working on, something like that.
At launch, I'm starting to think no, but launch window, yeah. I mean, I could see some within the launch window. I think PS5. I think majority of games, if anything, we would maybe get some PS5 updates for games. Like, hey, this is a PS4 game.
100%.
Now, this is a PS5 update, like updated for PS5. That would be ideal for me, at least just to have something at launch
So
for
quick
PSVR.
question off of that. Do you have anything off the top of your head that you think might be that game? Like maybe 2 or 3 that could be the big, hey, it supports PS5 now, like a No Man's Sky or something like that?
Dreams.
Dreams, okay.
Dreams is one that I feel like, because they've already said that they already have it running on PS5.
Right.
I
That'd be
mean, like
amazing.
publicity wise, though, I feel like what would make a splash, because Dreams is still a niche thing, even for, you know, the general public. I don't think people are super aware of
It's
what's
like
going on there.
50-50. It's pretty big. It's kind of a big deal, but
PSVR
I
is
think
kind of a niche thing for the general public, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I would love to see No Man's Sky be like one of those first out the gate to have like a huge update. But in my opinion, yeah, like Dreams is really the first one that comes to mind.
I wouldn't be shocked. We'll talk more about Iron Man later, but I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Iron Man in that launch window too. Again, not being a PlayStation 5 exclusive game, but being like, hey, here just like we had Pro patches that were free if you bought the PlayStation 4 Pro. I think there will be plenty of PlayStation 5 patches that developers will implement for their games to really take advantage of some of the hardware. I think that's a little bit of a different story.
They could also sell a new version, like an Ultimate Edition or something. So we've already got some DLC, but maybe like, say they throw in like a $5 paid DLC down the line. Maybe it's something that has all that stuff on the disc. Maybe it comes with all the optional costumes and stuff like that. And you get the PS5 version that's like, this is the definitive Iron Man VR experience that comes with that patch and everything.
Yeah. So what about the next part of this question? When do you think PSVR 2 is coming?
Well, I think we've all said late 2021 at the earliest. That's still my guess. I don't think we'll see anything before then. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little later even, but I would stick to late 2021 is my guess.
All right. So part of my whole theory is actually going to go against everything we've said before, and the reason I'm going against it all is because, again, I thought there was just going to be this awesome transition where somebody would be like, hey, your PSVR 1 headset works on PlayStation 5, and here are PlayStation 5 games that work on it that, you can't even play on your PlayStation 4, and it was going to be this, like, seamless transition, and at some point they'd be like, and here's new controllers. But I just feel like that's less and less likely as time goes on. And so I honestly think it kind of plays into my thoughts about there not being PlayStation 5 VR games at launch, because I think that Sony's trying to create this division with this line in the sand where they go, yeah, you can absolutely play your PlayStation 4 games on PlayStation 5 in VR. Here you go. We made it nice and easy for you to make that transition. And yes, the headset's compatible. Yes, the Move controllers are compatible. Yes, we're going to create some strange way for you to get this adapter to use your camera. It's going to be interesting. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think they're trying to say PSVR 1 in PS4 is very different than PS5 in PSVR 2. I think they're trying to create this line where it's like, okay, this is going to be a separate thing. And so that's why I think PlayStation VR 2 is actually happening way sooner than anyone expects, and that it could actually be early next year. And that's why we're not hearing things about PlayStation VR 2 and about how PlayStation VR 1 is going to work on PS5, because it technically only does as a backward compatible slight upgrade sort of thing. I think Sony's got a lot of plans that they haven't revealed yet, and I think this is one of the bigger ones. Just speculating, but it makes sense to me.
Fair enough. Oh, I'll await the pizza. Great excitement.
Well, the VR market is wide open right now, so I think the sooner they could get something finalized, sooner they could get something advertised and start marketing for it, the better. That being said, I don't think they're ready just yet. I know they're not ready just yet.
Right.
And I think ideally, I mean, of all of us, I hope Brian is right. I hope that we get something at the beginning of 2021. Hell, even by like spring or summer, I'd be like blown away.
Yeah.
But realistically, I think being super, super optimistic is that we even hear anything early 2021. And then, in that case, it would be like maybe released by like end of 2021, if not, or summer at the best.
Yeah.
But the truth is it could be a while. It could be even longer. It could be 2022, or even 2023, but that would be like a nightmare to deal with. I think if they really want to take care of, secure their place in the VR world, the sooner the better. I think an announcement. Let's just say I'll say an announcement by early 2021, like within the first Q1 2021, get an announcement, and that's I think being optimistic. and then by the end of 2021 as well, holiday 2021, get the release for it.
Yeah.
Something you said, Brian, also made me think of kind of an alternative answer to that. Will there be PS5 VR games at launch? I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something similar to the launch window of PSVR, where big games that were coming out for the platform had a mode attached.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Like, Tomb Raider, stuff like this. Say we're launching these new games on PS5 in the launch window. Maybe you don't get a full VR version of the game, but they want to get people excited for the eventual PSVR 2 and see what it can look like on a PS5. And so it's like, hey, here's a free mode, check it out, half an hour long, whatever. They've done it before. I don't see why they wouldn't do it again, because it was a way to try and help push the product. I don't know how well those worked or anything, but it's a possibility.
Let me ask you guys this real quick. Have you noticed, before we move on to the final bit of the question, have you noticed that PlayStation 4s are hard to find right now? PlayStation 4s are hard to find.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, you go on like Amazon, and it's like the normal thing you would buy from Amazon. It's just not there. You can't just walk into a GameStop and be like, I want a PlayStation 4. It's just not a thing right now. And so my speculation on that is like, well, obviously the world is recovering from COVID. Some places not even recovering from. And so the factories in China, I feel like they can't just be like, well, we're gonna recruit this new factory just to start making PlayStation 5s. I feel like Sony is making decisions right now, being like, well, we're gonna have to cut back the production of PlayStation 4s so that we can have enough PlayStation 5s ready at launch. And I feel like that is why we don't see too many PS4s out in the wild right now. If you search for PSVRs, the same problem has started happening, where PlayStation VR headsets have been harder to find in just normal retail places. You just can't go and be like, I want to go buy a $300 headset, or I want to go buy the Iron Man VR bundle. They're just not there anymore. And so my theory here is the same as the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 theory, is that those factories are switching gears, and they've got to start producing these PlayStation VR 2 headsets, and that's the only way that they would have them ready for early 2021 is if they were already getting that shit together. It sounds far-fetched, I know, but the gears are turning here.
The main counterpoint I've got to that is that it's not just a Sony thing. It's not just a PS5 thing. Like, Nintendo's not about to release a new Switch, but you can't find a fucking Switch anywhere either, because you can't find an Elgato capture card. You can't find a lot of gaming hardware and stuff like that, because during the pandemic, people are stuck in their houses, and so people are flocking to video game consoles they didn't have before. Especially VR has been sold out pretty much the whole pandemic, because people are like, well, if I'm stuck in my goddamn house, I might as well try out this Quest thing or this PSVR thing. And I think that's a huge, also the limitations of the manufacturing, like you said, from COVID, a lot of that stuff comes from China, and that took a big hit for a few months there. So I'm sure it's a combination of both. I don't know how much strategic it is. There could be an element of that. But across the board, electronics are hard to find. Like, entertainment electronics are hard to find right now. So
if it is by the end of next year, which I do like to think it is going to happen 2021. The reason I think it would be because they would want to launch it with a PSVR 2 and lots of games with it. A PSVR 2 would be very enticing to a lot of people, but throw in a bunch of games, throw in like a ready-to-go Resident Evil, throw in a Gran Turismo 7, and people would buy them up like crazy. And so I'd like to think that it's going to be later next year and not earlier, because that way they can launch it with a whole bunch of games, maybe even like a GTA, like some sort of Grand Theft Auto, Resident Evil, Gran Turismo, like I said, maybe Half-Life Alyx or something. To have like a stellar lineup like that to be launching with it would definitely sell a lot of PSVR 2s.
I like where you're going with this, but the fact is Sony hasn't said anything about PSVR 2 or PSVR compatibility on PlayStation 5, so they could very well have a lineup of games ready to go at any time. Like, the launch titles we got for PlayStation VR 1, very few of them I think were anything people were excited about. We were like, oh, Headmaster. Even things like Riggs, like the bigger titles, Eve Valkyrie. These weren't things that I was like super familiar with, and was like, Eve's obviously a huge title.
I think it was a really big one at launch.
out in the real gaming world. But these weren't things that like I was like, oh yeah, no, these are things I need to have until I got my hands on them.
Well, yeah, that demo that I got at Best Buy was like what sold me on getting the VR headset.
Nice.
I was like, as soon as I launched, I was like, holy shit.
A lot of my experience with VR was playing stuff, not knowing anything about it, not having no clue what it was, and then just playing it. And then that's like when you really understood.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And what about let's get to Billy Pod's last question. What's the likelihood we get new controllers before a new headset?
I'll take this one first. Zero chance.
Zero chance.
I will bet a 3-topping deep dish pizza on zero chance we get new controllers before a new headset.
I'm with AJ on this one. So Brian, go tell us why we're wrong. You and Jamie Feltham have both figured out something that we haven't figured out. What do you know about this that we don't?
No. It's a theory I floated for a very long time and was like, oh, this would make this transition seamless. But this is also during the time that I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna have PlayStation 5 VR launch titles, right? And I don't believe that anymore. And I really do think that holding back these new controllers to launch with PSVR 2 is again Sony saying, this is PSVR 2 and this is PSVR 1 and
next generation. They've said they believe in generations.
Yeah. And so no longer do I really think that. I would love it if I'm wrong on all of these points and it was a nice smooth transition where you can kind of ease yourself through the generation. But I don't think that's their strategy. I think we'll see new Move controllers with PSVR 2.
Yep.
But that's not a bad thing in any way, because this gives time for the parts to get cheaper, which from the info that I've known from the insiders that I talked to, that's what they're waiting for, is for everything to get cheaper. They're also still developing some of the technology, like the Move controllers, the next motion controllers. Those aren't done yet. All that we've seen are the patents. We've seen what they're tinkering with, but they're not even done yet. So they're still figuring out the technology. They're still figuring out, they're still waiting for prices to go down and stuff. And that's kind of why we're having to wait a little bit longer than we probably would have expected at first.
Yeah. Here's one thing I'll say as another bet that's a 3-topping deep dish kind of strong bet. I almost guarantee you that the name of the next Move controllers, we keep talking about the Move 2.0, whatever it is, they will not be called Move 2.0.
No,
they won't be. Move will not be in the title in any way. They're going to have an entirely
new motion sense,
something like that, motion sense, or something that designates that these aren't just your old rubbery things with a camera. This is the new system for VR. Kind of how they did DualSense. They're like, this isn't a DualShock. It's different. If you're
motion sense has a nice ring to it, right?
Motion sense sounds good.
Like it's got better tracking, better motion with it, and also immersive features that you can sense in the hand.
I don't know. They all sound like sharper image vibrators to me. Yeah. All right, who's up for the next question?
You took the first one. I guess I'll take this one. Rypop from the Discord asks us with a hashtag viewer takeover and hashtag yes, it's still breathtaking. It says, with the new Iron Man patch that helps solve some of its issues, do you gents now recommend it, and would it rank a little higher on the top 25? What I mean about the recommendation is for us hardcore VR players. Keep up the great work, and as always, stay breathtaking.
This is a tough one because I spent a lot of time in Iron Man VR after the patch 1.06, and I was excited to get back there because I was like, oh, new game plus, harder difficulty level, being able to jump in and have all my weapons from the get-go and being able to do all of these things and check out some new weapons. I had research points, so many research points left over from my first run. So it was nice to get in there and try out some of these new weapons, which were pretty cool. They're very, very cool. And then also giving you new challenges to unlock the new decos. I was like, this just adds to the game, right? It gives you so much incentive to get back in there. And here I am, excited to get back in, and then boom, the first loading screen. I go, optimistic. I'm going to be optimistic. Let's see how this goes. And I was like, holy shit! Like, these are still pretty long. They are shorter, but they are still long.
And I think the frequency of loading screens is another thing. Like, we talked about how long they were. Yeah. But it's not just the length, it's the rate at which you're seeing a loading screen. Like, you'll go through a loading screen, and then you're in pitch black, and Tony Stark is talking to himself, which is essentially another loading screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you might see like a little bit of a snippet of a cinematic or dialogue or something like that, and then you're back in a loading screen before you can play anything. It's and that didn't change, right?
No, it didn't. That didn't change. I will say there's things like if you're in New Game Plus and you want to skip, it's a great scene in Shanghai when you actually enter Stark Tower, right? And there's the whole ghost segment.
Yeah,
you can skip that entire thing now. You never even have to go inside. You get to the door and it's like, do you want to skip this? And you go, yeah. And that way you don't have to go in and do the whole thing. Somehow there's still a loading screen when you say, yes, skip the cinematic. So you reduce it by one loading screen. So you don't have to like get it when you're going into the building, but you still get the one from coming back out. Though they did say they reduced those by about 30 seconds or so. And so,
but I mean, there's no payoff there because that scene was kind of one of the better scenes in the entire game.
That is true.
And so you're missing out on it to not even gain yourself a load screen savings. It sounds like, or not much. Yeah.
Despite all these things, I still thought Iron Man was a game I would recommend to just about anybody, maybe on sale at the very least.
Yeah.
Unless you went and played the demo and you hated everything about it. Luckily this has a demo. So if you played the demo and you really liked it, then I would have said even before this patch to get it anyways, because I still found lots of it to be enjoyable. Just some really bad design flaws in it, but and less than stellar presentation, but this kind of content is great. All I have to do left is to beat one more time on like hard or whatever, or I think it was called Invincible, and I get the platinum. So this gave me, I have so many extra research points and stuff. It's not just that. My favorite thing to do in this game was unlocking the decos. And yeah, the fact that they added more decos, like that is really, and the new weapons, those are probably the things I'm looking forward to the most. The loading screens were annoying, but as you get into the end game, you don't, depending on what you do, at least for what I was doing, I didn't experience them as much. But yeah, shaving off 20-30 seconds on each loading screen, that's a lot for me. That means a lot. So I would say absolutely yes.
I wonder also, how long do you think the total game is now that they've shaved off 20% of the load? Do you think we lost like 30 minutes of runtime? Like we said, this is an 8-hour game.
No,
probably 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, probably like 15, 20 at
15,
most.
20 minutes. I mean, that's significant either way. I think the thing for me is it's always good to get free updates and new content that you don't have to pay for, and fixes to things that have been kind of a pain in the ass, like the loading screen. But to me, the core game and how I would rate it is still basically the same. It's like when Blood and Truth got free DLC. I didn't say, oh, this is now a top 3 game. It's still Blood and Truth, and I still rate it the same way. It's nice to have the extra DLC stuff, but it doesn't change the core experience of the game. And for me, like, I'm more excited about the decos than I am the new weapons. Because even within the game with the weapons they had, I found a lot of them kind of like, I didn't feel like using them. I stuck with like 1 or 2 for the most of the game because I would try the other ones out and say, it's not my speed. I don't really like this one for whatever reason. It doesn't feel right to me. So if they added like, 8 new weapons, I might like 1 or 2 of them to use regularly. And I think that's probably going to be the case.
I'll tell you what happened is I agree with you, but because that's what I did for the main game as well. But when I did New Game Plus, I actually found a couple new ones that I was like, oh no, these are the ones I'm going to stick with this time around. Okay. And so they're still similar, but they're different enough for me to go, oh, this is just a little bit different for me to enjoy using them for the whole run through.
So I think this sounds like it's just a little spice on top, and I think that's not enough to really elevate a game too much on the top 25 as far as that part of the question goes. I would still put it roughly where I put it, maybe move up 1 or 2 spots if the loading times are that much better, but it sounds like not a whole lot better. I still haven't played it myself since the update, but based on what Brian's saying here.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy Iron Man. I enjoyed it from the get-go. I liked it at launch, just like you guys, but I think the additional content, the New Game Plus specifically, really sold it for me. Like when Blood and Truth got New Game Plus, I was like, this is great, and a harder difficulty, right? It gave me an excuse to go back. So now I've got a harder difficulty and I've got a New Game Plus. And I'm like, that's a reason for me to replay the entire game. And so for me, that like doubles the amount of content technically, from a kind of like a lighthearted perspective, I suppose. So, do I recommend this more? Yes. Do I still think it has some pretty major flaws? Yes. And so, but I think this is definitely becoming a must-have PlayStation VR game. And if Camouflage is this committed to it and Sony's letting them keep working on it, then by all means, I can't wait to see how this thing plays on PlayStation 5, or maybe even sooner. Maybe they'll have another patch that reduces the loading times even further, gives us more content. These guys are staying true to their word and working. I mean, this game, they worked on it for so long, and I'm sure they want to make it right.
You know what would make me kick this game up a few notches if it turned out good? A multiplayer patch, a multiplayer mode, some kind of like battle arena or something like that. Or maybe even you work together, or it's a challenge to see who gets the most points in a set amount of time, but you're like in the same arena and fighting guys. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could do it. But they did post a job listing a long time ago looking for somebody who knew multiplayer design. And Ghost of Tsushima, out of nowhere, recently just said, hey, guys, we're going to have a multiplayer mode. It's totally different from the main game. Like, it's free. Enjoy. And nobody had any clue. That was out of nowhere. So, I mean, Sony's got tricks up their sleeve. They always had. But you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I think flying around in the Iron Man suit and being able to do that with your friends would be an absolute blast. So I 100% agree with you.
The Deco's even more exciting because then you're like customizing your appearance in an online match and stuff like that.
Love the Decos. I'd like to see if like what kind of impact adding multiplayer. Multiplayer is probably one of the most commonly requested things for any game that I ever see. Saints and Sinners. Now you're saying Iron Man. I want to know if somebody actually added multiplayer to this, would it actually sell a significant amount of copies to actually justify doing that?
It depends on how the mode was structured, and I think how well it was implemented. Because
if it's just tacked on, I don't think it's going to have that kind of effect. I don't think it's going to have a lasting impact. But if it is designed with it, I think maybe it would have a longer stance. But just had to throw that out there.
All right, guys, we were running super duper long, so let's wrap it up for another viewer takeover. Make sure if you change your name to GameCat, push hashtag GameCat in the comments below. If you don't know what a GameCat is, where the fuck have you been, guys? GameCats are the loyal following of Without Parole. And we'll give you a shout out on next week's show with the hashtag GameCat. Also, if you got a viewer takeover question, make sure you either join our Discord. That link is in the description. You can leave it in the viewer takeover channel, or just leave it under any video. The hashtag viewer takeover, all one word. We'll find it, and if you're unlucky, we'll probably talk about you next week's show. Also, join our Discord, even if you don't want to leave a viewer takeover question. It's important, man. Discord's awesome. Where all the coolest cats hang out.
Fun stuff we do every week. We got a movie night. This has been going pretty strong. Sundays at 9 p.m. And I think this week is probably going to be Princess Mononoke, the classic Studio Ghibli animated film. So if you guys want to catch that or just hang out and have some fun on a Sunday night, it's always a good time. So I
apologize for falling asleep during King of Kong. That was like, I don't know how Dave calls and I'm like, where am I? What's happening? Oh no. Send your viewer takeover introductions as Darwin's Eyeball did so very well this week to withoutparole@gmail.com. Make sure you subscribe to Dave over at Dave Station VR. Subscribe to AJ over at PSVR Underground. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Brian Paul. This is PSVR. This is not PSVR Gamescast Live. This is Viewer Takeover. Oh my god. I need a pizza so bad.
We'll see you all next week.
Dave sounds really quiet.
Okay, let me double check.
Yeah, double check your mic.
It's not in the right place. That's why. Physically, it is not located near my mouth. Now,
I wonder why everything sounds so distant.
I wonder why.
What could possibly be the problem? I don't know.